So we are live. Welcome back to Digital PNA. I'm your host, Marcelle Allen. I'm so thankful you're here today. It's weird though, BV. I hear the music in the background, but it's not actually playing anymore. It's in my head. We were rocking out before we got started. But welcome to Digital PNA. We've got someone live on YouTube. Welcome if you're watching YouTube. Feel free to comment as we go. And let's see. We have a great presentation today. I am your president of the year, and our theme of the year, wouldn't it be cool if? Wouldn't it be cool if you walked away today with 2 referrals? Wouldn't it be cool if you walked away with 5 great new communities to networking? Wouldn't it be cool if somebody asked you to be on a TV show or a podcast with them? Wouldn't it be cool if so-and-so wasn't such a jerk? Like that's the theme this year is keeping it positive, but wouldn't it be cool if? And so our current member roster, this is everybody here. So feel free to tag people on Instagram or Facebook, and definitely make sure you're connected to these folks on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, or wherever you prefer to network. So we're going to dive in. I need some roles though. So does anybody want to take a couple photos or a video clip throughout the presentation? Emma, I see your hand up. Thank you. Anybody else? This might be pretty dynamic. I encourage everybody to get at least one 10-second video clip, a part of the data art demo, because I'm excited about that and I'm curious what you all find most fascinating.
Okay.
How about a meme tracker or somebody to listen for quotables or funny phrases that are said? Mike, perfect, thank you. And then feel free to update your story, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram. Feel free to, this is an everybody thing. Take a selfie with the slides. Just reshare the slides and tag our Instagrams. This is a skill that we continue to learn and from a collaborative standpoint, help people get introduced to new networks. We'll talk more about that today.
Okay.
Let's see. So today we'll dive in with our commercial. So I'll stop the share here. Everybody gets to deliver a 60-second commercial. I'm not real rough on the timing of that because I'm pretty flexible. But I want you to share a recent win. Did you get a free cup of coffee? Did somebody introduce you to a whole community? Did you land a $20,000 deal? Are you just got it sunny out? Like, tell us a win. We want to know what's making you happy these days. And then if you have an ask, a video to share, a podcast link, just a reminder of who your ideal client is, we would love to hear from you there too. So Brian, I will get you that link in a second. I'm going to drop the name of the order in the chat. Let's go. BV was here first. So we'll start with you. Emma, Christina. Brian, Mike, Marcelle. So that's our order. I will get the YouTube link as well. So take it away. BV. Let's see. How do I stop my share over there? Let's wait for it. All right, BV, when you are ready.
All right. First official membership role here, so I should probably know something by now. But I would say at Vaughn Life, the kind of thing that I try to help people understand is how to solve some problems and do some things that are not just reserved for rich people. But if you can help yourself and you want some help helping yourself, that's what I'd like to help you figure out. What are some things you can do, and not just the typical stock and bond kind of stuff, but what's going on in your life. So it's almost deliberately nebulous, but I'd love to help you figure some things out and solve some financial problems. We'll talk more about that later. Among the kinds of things that have happened, I'd say kind of a win is I was introduced by somebody I was trying to help in the past, and it's kind of a couple generations when I helped somebody who helped somebody else, and then referred back, came back around. I love getting referral that is a tag team from somebody I helped years ago and had some difficulty with, and it turned out everybody is digging what they're doing. So it feels good to be appreciated, and sometimes you don't always know. So maybe that's an ask that when we're helping each other in this community and others to share the love and let them know that, hey, I told somebody about you and this is what's happening. So it reminded me to check into those people. It seems like they've gone off into the dark, and in fact they're silently elated, and it was good to hear the news. that's kind of a ramble, but I'm going to start with that. And like we'd said before, we start because it's time, not because we're ready. So
Awesome. Thanks, BV. Emma.
Well, life happens, and with Country Financial, we have some life options unlike most. We actually offer a return on premium with our term policies, which allows you to get all the money you spent back, or you have the option to lock that in a whole life policy at the age of 65 with no medical exam, paid in full. Also, we offer pay plans for our whole life policies at 10, 15, 20, and 30-year options. So you are not paying your whole life insurance for your whole life, but still having it last until you pass away. Some restrictions apply. So find out which policy is best for you by reaching out to us here at Country Financial at the Courtney Hamilton Agency. And a recent win for myself, not really business related, but kind of. I've been in the market for a new vehicle. I was very specific on what I wanted. So I did finally land that vehicle this week. And I'm excited because I was trying to reach with Karen here in Arizona. And the vehicle was kind of the obstacle in the way. So now that that's solved, I'm hoping to reach out to her and get that one-on-one again.
Nice. Christina?
Hey guys. So Christina with Outdoor Lighting Perspectives. As you know, we cover territory from Canada all the way down to Kent. Right now that the weather is more in our favor is the perfect time to go ahead and get all your outdoor lighting needs out the way. We do have some Evergreen Home Show specials that are still running. And so if you call in and you mention like Evergreen Spring Home Show, like 2025, you can go ahead and get a great discount on some brand new installed lighting. And then a recent win for us is that we hit 101 subscribers on YouTube. So Rob has been working overtime on the YouTube. I'm more Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, because we kind of forget about TikTok sometimes, but the YouTube has essentially taken off. And so it's a big win for us because we just didn't think we'd see 100 subscribers very quickly. So thank you guys. I'm also going to share a reel into the chat. If you guys could share it and go like it. Anybody watching at home, if you could subscribe to our channel and go watch our videos, like, comment, share, we would greatly appreciate it. So that was like our recent win, honestly, just work-wise and personally. We've been, busting our behinds trying to get this to grow. And I know 100 doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is for us. Marcelle happens to know where our social media was at. So yeah, a huge win for us and we're pretty happy. So yeah.
Congrats. That's exciting. I think today's presentation will be extra helpful for you, Christina. All right, Brian.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Brian Trendler, BT Presents, which is a division of Laugh Tech that Marcelle and I proudly own. We are humor engagement coaches. We teach people all over the place how to become better speakers using humor. And under BT Presents, I am an auctioneer, an MC, and an officiant, which means I can efficiently officiate your weddings. I was just called about a week and a half ago now, and a tiny little voice said, "Can you marry me off?" And it was one of those funny calls you don't expect to get. And sure enough, I got the opportunity. So I will travel, but at the same time, whether it is an MC or an auctioneer or an officiant opportunity, I take the time to work with the clients long beforehand. Normally anywhere from 2 to up to 10 hours, back and forth meetings, whatever it takes to make sure their event, whatever level my participation is exemplary and extensive. And that's before the event, during the event, and after the event. So if you know people who want to put the fun back in fundraising, or if they just want to get married once and get it done right, help you with that first part, but I would love those referrals. So that was kind of that small success tied into my commercial. I think I dotted all the I's and crossed the T's, Marcelle.
Good job, Mike.
Hi, everybody. Mike with the Puget Sound Business Journal. I swear, people around here go to happy hour so much that they're putting the pub back in publications.
But
that's just a little riff off of Brian's fun and fundraising there. The Puget Sound Business Journal is a publication, but it's better to think of it as a publisher, because publications tend to imply just printed material. We do that, but we also have a strong and growing website, and we reach people, a lot of people, 6,000 or so come to our events each year. So all of that is to say what the Puget Sound Business Journal and American City Business Journals, the company that has that is the owning company that has business journals in 44 markets, really does well is it connects buyers and sellers in the business community. We have a new product that includes video that Marcelle, I've been sort of pitching internally here for a while. It's called our publisher interview. We will have companies sit down with our publisher for a 5 to 10 minute interview, and then we smooth that out a bit so it's a bit more presentable, and we publish it on our website outside of our paywall, and it's up there forever, and we promote it for a period of time with some advertising around getting people to click on the headline that opens up the video on our website. So for companies that want to build credibility or want to communicate their expertise or want to present their leadership against the publisher of some expertise and renown, it's a very, very strong tool. About $3,000, and I know that that's not chump change, but it exists forever, and you can point people to it forever. Recent win. I just came back from Cincinnati, where I ran the Flying Pig Marathon, which I enjoyed immensely. There are other marathons that are more sexy, that have more flash, that maybe have big parties at the end or rock and roll bands every couple miles. But I have never seen such community support as the Flying Pig Marathon. Throughout the 26 miles, there was never a moment where there weren't people, and sometimes throngs of people, on the sidewalks, whether it was in neighborhoods or downtown Cincinnati, cheering you on. If there is a validation of how people can transfer energy from sideline to sideline, it's the Flying Pig Marathon.
I'm just glad he said throngs and not thongs.
I saw some thongs.
For the rest.
It was a rainy day in Cincinnati. It's amazing how many people have pig outfits. I don't know what they do with their pig outfits the rest of the year, but they bring it out on Flying Pig Day.
Wow, the more you know. Very cool. Well, congratulations, Mike, and thanks for sharing. And it is so fun learning about the different communities, because there's a lot of cool things out there these days. So I'll go next. My name is Marcelle. I'm the owner of Dreamosity.com, and today I've got a great presentation, so I'll save some of the excitement for that. But my recent win, I am hearing myself on echo. Why is that? Are you guys hearing that?
A little bit, yeah.
Let's see. Anyways, I'm distracted, but more importantly, I have a new office space. I'm like 2 days away from new office space. So I will be able to do data art sessions like this, live demo, hands-on activity, 4 or 5 people in the room with me, and also broadcast to the internet. So I'm really jazzed about that. So stay tuned for an invite to my space, or just another Digital PNA where we can do a demo of some sort. So that's a big win. You guys know I'm a social media gal. I help people navigate the internet to win. And let's see if I can navigate this little button over here and get us back to our curveball question. Okay, so we're going to go in reverse order for our curveball questions. Not sure why that's doing that, but I want you to think carefully. What community did you last introduce people to? And I'll go first, but think about, Mike literally just introduced us to some pig marathon group. I've already forgotten the name, but literally 90 seconds ago was there's this great community of people who wear pink and run, right? So that would be his answer, just because it's top of mind. But for you, think about, what community did you last introduce people to? Maybe you shared this on Facebook a few minutes ago, and it would be Digital PNA. Maybe you were talking up about some local community or a faith group or a Toastmasters. For me, I think this morning over coffee with somebody, I was talking about a community called Bloss, and I was introducing this guy to this community, these powerful women. I said, just know that they exist. You don't need to know who's who yet, but know that they're there. Christina, we've talked about Bloss, but I would say that probably the last community I was talking about enthusiastically. So going in reverse, Mike, what about you?
And this sort of intersects with the Facebook groups. There's a community called Cherish Kirkland, which is a group of mostly neighborhood-based residents of Kirkland that are eager to make sure that there is thoughtful growth in Kirkland. And I did indeed literally introduce somebody to one of the moderators or administrators of that group.
Cool.
Short and sweet. Okay. Mike, thank you for that. I'm going to introduce you all to this community, as well as in 3 different opportunities over the last 48 hours, I've introduced folks to the new page on our website, which is laughtechnw.com/concierge. And that is a nice, sexy way of saying if you have an event of any sort, any way, any shape, any form, and you need stuff, you need people, you need talent, videographers, officiants, florists, the people that have the chairs and the tents and everything, the catering, the auctioneers, the people, the talent, the bands, DJ. I have it all. I have a huge, insanely fat with a PH network of talented Pacific Northwest folks who want to be connected to people like you that need these sorts of events filled out with the very best. So you can now go there and get a quote, click on what you want, leave me notes. I get you the quote within 48 hours. So I've introduced this network of very hungry local businesses to at least 4 or 5 different folks and or businesses in the last 72. So very excited about this launch.
Cool. Thank you. Christina.
So one of the most recent groups, or it actually happened, there's 2, Digital PNA. My sister-in-law just started selling life insurance. And so then I told her, I was like, oh, like we do Digital PNA. I mentioned Emma and then Karen as well. And I was like, they share a lot of great stuff. She just started out. So I was like, maybe you want to connect with them, get some tips. But I just sort of was like, Digital PNA is like a great way to just, meet new people, get new connections. So I shared Digital PNA. And then the most recent one, it's silly, but and it may be a little odd. So I like the exoskeletons of animals. So like spiders and then like snakes and all that stuff. So I collect that and have my own little collection. And so I recently introduced a friend of mine on Facebook to a group that I found on Facebook. And you just kind of get to share like some pieces that you've come across, maybe like Etsy or farmers markets. And then you could just also buy stuff. So if you see like a nice snake in a jar and you want it, you can purchase it and stuff. So yeah, fun fact about me, I guess. So that's about it.
Wow, very interesting.
Wait.
Okay. Emma and then BV.
So I'm actually involved here in Arizona with the Arizona Burner community, which is part of Burning Man community here in Arizona, which really celebrates artists, creatives, things like that. They have 10 principles, and one of them is decommodification. So they practice a gifting community. And so recently I did bring a friend of mine to one of their events we went to about a couple of weeks ago, Swaro Man. So it was her first time, and she was really intrigued with that whole community of giving and creating. And so we're joining more events local here to try to get more people to donate things and just get involved.
Cool, thanks. BV.
There's an organization that kind of connects Emma and Karen and me that from having been from Arizona and still have the Arizona area code, Seattle Sun Devils. So I got my MBA I got from ASU, and in Seattle is a community of. It's not like, well, some alumni organizations are so boring. Oh my God, because they're just. But this is a good mix of people in business school and well, not just business school, but in Arizona State undergrad and graduate student and alumni. It's the right balance of oldies and people coming out and they're fired up and ready to go. And it's a great place, especially people from Arizona. Up here, it's been like, say, the tech people came in and went to Amazon and Microsoft and stuff up here, but they're just trying to get the lay of the land, and it's a good mix of fun and professionalism. So Seattle Sun Devils is one, and it's not hard to find opportunities to say, "Hey, you're new in town. Oh, from Arizona, check this out." So uh, it might be something that I talked to Karen a couple of days ago, but Emma, we got to catch up and get our ASU hand signs or whatever we do here, and get the Northwest and the Southwest connected. Seattle Sun Devils.
Cool. Thank you. So I want you to think for a moment and actually, let's see. Well, I love it when you guys think. My cursor is spinning. I'm your speaker today. So been in business 15 years. The topic of my presentation is a data art demo for Digital PNA. So we're actually going to build out a sphere of influence with data art live today. So I'm excited for that. Seldom known personal fact. I really like biscuits and gravy. I probably should start marathoning to work off some of those biscuits, but anyway, I'm happy to be here and thanks for being here. So I'm going to dive into the presentation. Let's see if I can stop this screen and do another screen share here. Forgive me while I figure this all out again. So I'm going to keep you guys in the presentation today because I want to see your responses. Can you see that there?
Yep.
Let me move it to this format. So I will go full screen, I think. Let me think about this because I'm in two monitors trying to figure out how to best do this. But I want you to think for a moment about the communities you just mentioned. If there was a movie poster type piece of artwork for that community, who would be the lead actor or the lead actress? Is it the pig running the marathon? Is it, Joe Blow, councilman at the Kirkland, what was it? Cherish Kirkland? Is it a Sun Devil? Is it a group of 50 people on the cover? So part of what I love to do for folks with social media and creativity and the critical thinking is thinking about what are the visuals that would best represent this. Because when I say a phrase like humor heals, does that really help you understand what humor heals is? But if I show you this very interesting movie poster that one of my assistants made for me, actually, Christina, this was Sydney Bingham, Rob's oldest daughter, created this because I was like, I'm too close to it, make a movie poster type thing. And so she came up with Marcelle sniffing a flower with an emoji laughter in the front of it. So, and actually, let me just see if I can go full screen and make this work. I might lose visibility. Okay, so, but think about your community. What would be the poster for your group that you mentioned? And we're going to talk about a lot of groups today. And this becomes more and more important for people like me who have access to 100+ Facebook groups, you guys. I'm not kidding. How do you keep them separate? How do you know if it's making a difference, right? And this is what we're going to talk about, why data art is a great type of reflective activity to get people to think critically about their sphere of influence. This is just a quick slide to show some credibility. I've been supporting remarkable leaders and those who are digitally hesitant since 2008. I've been on a lot of cool stages and a lot of cool communities, and I really love to help people get to that point where they experience what I call financial joy, which is the result of a great sales and marketing campaign, knowing how to hit those sales goals. But if you've ever felt like this when it comes to social media, can anybody relate?
Yep.
Where you're just feeling like, what the heck? People don't buy from my posts and blah, 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 the government, and oh my gosh, like too much positivity and it's not actually helping. And oh, they ghosted me again, right? Like, so there is this spiral that can happen for people who are navigating business on social media. It is not always A, B, C win, right? Like there's a lot of moving pieces. And I want to break down some of that today so we can turn this tornado into what I call a revenue ringlet or a more profitable pathway. And so often I ask my clients, what is your sales territory? Do you have a documented sales territory? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, well, let me introduce you to data art. And data art, there's 4 main steps. I'm going to give you kind of 2 ways to think about this. But the basic of it is collect it, clean it, analyze it, share it. So if we have, say, 10 Facebook groups we're looking at or 100, how do we look at that versus just a big old list that's not really easy to navigate? And so this is actually my framework for remarkable leadership, this process of content consumption, content creation, thought leadership, and then visual leader. And I'm adding over the data art idea. Collect it, clean it, analyze it, share it. So these are very similar. It's not exactly the same because we know that if a leader has information and they don't share it, is being a hermit helpful? No. And is sharing everything without a little bit of discernment and, carefulness, is that good? No, right? So we got to find this flow of how do we get creative enough to have impact and to influence. And I propose data art as one of the things that leaders can do, or people who like to journal or do a little bit more than journaling. And so when we go into data art today, I'm looking at very specifically your sphere of influence, right? So I'm not going to look at too much about net profit today or budgeting or any of the fun things I could talk about. I'm just going to focus on sphere of influence because that to me is part of your sphere of influence and your sales territory, essentially. Where do I go every day? Like if you've got 4 hours of no appointments on your calendar, where do you go? Here's an example of something that we might create as a team. This is an example of somebody else's community where if you look at the blue circles, each blue circle is representative of a group, a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group. You can see the logos next to them. And then the color of the blue is based on influence opacity. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And also the size, a smaller group like the one with 28, that's a very small group versus a group of 500 people. It's a little bit different versus some of these ones on the outer ring, which might be, 20,000 people big. That's a lot of people. There's a lot of competition in that group. Let's see. Come on, slide work. Did that shift slides for you guys? Big old white screen. That's helpful. And that's actually, we're gonna populate that in a minute. So you might be asking, Marcelle, how do I determine if I have influence in a group? Have you guys ever thought that? Feel free to hop off mute and say, like, how do you know if you've got influence in a group?
Daily.
What does that mean, daily?
As in, I ask myself that daily, questioning all my choices in life as well.
Okay, fair.
I think if people tag you, if somebody's asking a question in the group and somebody tags you to answer it, maybe I feel like that's how you kind of know, or you're consistently posting in the group and people just I don't know, kind of expect it or something. I don't know, but I feel like the main one would just be if somebody asks a question or something and they tag you for you to answer it. I feel like that's kind of how you might know.
Yeah, sure. And these are all great. And this is where the art part of this is it's not always clear of, oh, I'm at, 2% or 20%. There's no real exact. That's why it's a little bit poetic and artsy fartsy in the sense that it's not law, right? It's not legal contract stuff. But things I might consider, where did your last referrals come from? If you think about where your last 3, paychecks came from, /invoices /commission checks, where did they come from? Was it Joe Blow out of the blue, or was it somebody in PNA? Was it somebody from, Cherish Kirkland or the Seattle Sun Devils? Where was your content being discussed? Was it in a Facebook group? Was it on LinkedIn? Was it on your website in the comments? Was it nowhere? Do you have content that gets discussed, right? And this is where we have an opportunity to develop some of that thought leadership and initiating conversations online. would you get recommended in an ISO in search of, right? So if like there are some groups right now where if they say, hey, who do I know that can do social media management? I'm literally competing against 40 other people in the thread. Sometimes I'm in the room and I got 5 people advocating for me and I'll get the deal, right? Not every room though, right? There's a lot of people that do what I do out there. We all have competition. And while some communities say, oh, it's all cooperation, we're all friends, I'm like, not necessarily. Like people are going to pay those who they trust, like, know, and want to do business with. And that's our opportunity. Are you new to the scene or are you a beloved favorite, right? Things to consider. Some people in different communities, they've been around for a decade. Some are brand new, hot shot, but they got something to say, so that's something to look at it. Now, if you all pull out your phone right now and if you look at the last 5 people who called you or you called, think for a moment, what community were they from or where did you first meet them? Was it at a chamber event? Was it at a rally? Was it a concert? Was it a date night? Like our sphere of influence, it can range from personal to romantic and interesting to just professional colleagues. And then who paid you, right? So we kind of talked about that, your last 2 invoices or the people you are paying, right? So often our independent contractors, they're a big part of our sphere, our team, our admin, our, the people we're thanking, they're a big part of it. And so these are just some ways to look at it. Now I'm gonna go a little bit further here. And actually let's stop sharing for a moment. Let's see if I can do this in Canva. I actually want to get you guys into Canva because I asked each of you to bring a list. Did you guys think of your list of 3? So if you're willing, let's make some data art together. So I'm going to ask you to drop the name of it and the size of the group in the Zoom chat. And once I get my screen back up here, I'll show you, we'll actually build it together so you guys can see what I'm talking about. That was what my blank slide was that spooked me. I'm like, why is there a blank slide? Oh yeah, this is my blank canvas. Oh, I'm a total human, right? Okay, so I want to do this guy. Okay, so you guys can see the screen again, right? I'm going back and forth.
Yeah.
So somebody give me a community. What do we got?
I put mine in the chat screen.
What was yours?
Well, there's the Mill Creek Business Association, so that's 1,600 members. I'm proud of our tiny little Laugh Tech group, which is 969, and then our comedians come from a huge group, 6,500 members.
Okay, so let's start with the first one. So how big was it? It was Mill Creek. What was it? Mill Creek?
Mill Creek Chamber is 1,600.
Is it chamber or community?
It's the Mill Creek Chamber Facebook page.
Am I in that one with you?
I don't know. You should be.
I'm trying to remember the actual group. Okay, so I'm gonna call it that. So I'm gonna fast forward here real quick. Can you guys still see my screen here?
Yep.
So if you think about maybe 10% of the people knows you, you might have a small opacity. Opacity meaning, the thinness of it. Like, is it you're kind of unknown, or is it maybe 50% of the people know you by name, or everybody knows you? So Brian, if you were to think about that Mill Creek group, what percentage would you give yourself roughly?
70%.
70%. And how do you come to that number?
Keep trying to take a sip of water. How did I come by that number? Because I know the chamber members and I know the extended community. I'm heavily involved in the community. So that's, I think.
You are on the website, right? I think you are on the website.
Yes.
So this slide is looking at size. So I'm just kind of getting a visual here. So right now I have it too big. So I'm gonna shrink it down a little bit because that's probably not realistic. Okay. What else do we have from a group? So part of these to me are all opportunities for us to eventually, I don't know, share a video, share a podcast, answer questions, build affluence, right? Or not affluence, but influence. What's another group that someone's got?
Mike's got a hell of a big group, 15-4.
It is so the interesting dynamic. You're right. It is a big group in which I have very, very little influence. And so as you said, Marcel, there's opportunity there. It's a group on Facebook that are fans of or owners of a specific car, which is the Honda CRZ, which they didn't make many of. I happened to fall into getting one about a year ago. I really love it, but it's pretty rare. It's pretty arcane in some ways. And the people in the group are it's that long tail phenomenon of the internet. People have found each other online that have a fairly specific and not common interest, and I am one of those people. It is a large group, very small part of the, I'm a very small
Yeah.
part.
Would you say like 5%, 2%, 10%?
I'd say
Okay,
2%.
so for the sake of the artwork, I want to give you at least 6% so we can see it. But that's exactly what he's saying. That's the opportunity to do a video, to do an interview with somebody else who has this community. Maybe, I would say, so like one of the things on my discovery deck is collaborators. Find a person, do a cool video interview, talk about the cars. Maybe that's not directly related to Puget Sound Business Journal, but you find a love for running, or you find a commonality, like who knows what that could be. So that's interesting. I'll have to brainstorm some other ways for that group. 969. Let's see. Oh, that's a Facebook page. So pages are different than groups. So that's one thing that I just want to say. Pages have fans or followers. Groups have members. They operate differently in Facebook in terms of how we engage with them. Like, I wouldn't tell Christina, go drop her OLP reel on my Dreamosity page, but I might say, come into my Financial Joy community, because if people want to host beautiful dinner parties, they need to know about OLP. So that community conversation would make sense, but just blasting it on a social media business page may or may not make sense, depending on the angle. But for the car one, we'd have to really think about. Okay, so Mike, tell me about nlwbc.org members. What do we got here?
Oh, that was me. That's another group. This is BV. That's another group that I have that's small. We've got some people are members and some people are dropper inners. You can see some of the folks, and some of those people probably.
I know Linda. Okay, so is there a Facebook group to support this? Like, if I were to want to share a video to these groups, or maybe JD in your video, where would you actually drop the video?
There is a Facebook page. Yeah, there is also NLWB Connection. I think is what. So.
So okay, can you guys see? Share this. So I went through and I clicked on the Facebook page. So this is a page. They have followers. What we need to find out is, do they have a group?
No.
Groups have members, and this is the opportunity again, because it wouldn't make sense for me to go and be like, hey everybody, come by my thing if I'm not a part of that community.
Okay.
But if it's a bigger community around it, I could drop a video link or a blog post.
Okay.
Potentially. And so pages operate differently than groups. This is looking at sphere of influence. Now, could I go to that page and leave comments and ask questions and engage with whatever they're posting? Yes. Do I feel like my video will get traction if I leave it in a comment there? Probably not. But if we had a video in front of 50,000 people here, there's a good chance you'll get at least 100 views, if not 1,000. Now, if it's talking about taxes and not cars, that's a stretch, right? So we have to be strategic with the correlation of the content. Let me see. Who else do we got? Groups. Emma, Christina, do you have any other groups you want me to visualize here?
We have one for outdoor lighting perspectives. It's Under the Lights. That one's pretty small. But as far as being able to drop everybody else's stuff on there, we are in the My Edmonds neighbor group, and that has 12,000 members. And then The Bothell Community one has a 43,000 members.
Bothell Community. Are you a member of that group now?
Yes, I'm a member of that one. And then the my Edmonds neighbor, and that one has 12,000 members.
Oh, and how much on Bothell did you say? 50,000?
43.
43,000. And how would you say like you and OLP influences so far in Bothell Community?
I want to say we're limited just because for like community groups and stuff, they have like certain rules regarding business.
Yep.
So I've joined them on my personal page. And I know Rob has as well. So when somebody like, I think certain groups have like a Monday or Wednesday you can post like as the business. So we're in there as the business, as OLP, and as individuals.
Perfect.
Because they approve, your neighbor Sally asking, hey, I want outdoor lighting. So then I can comment as myself and be like, oh, hey, so you should reach out to Outdoor Lighting Perspectives. They did so-and-so's lights, or they did my lights, or, so then I'm able to recommend it as a community member versus coming in strictly as a business and being like, hey, call us today and we can do your outdoor lighting, because then we'll get kicked out and we don't want that.
Yeah, and exactly. Knowing the rules of these groups is really important. But for you guys, because you've been at the Mill Creek Festival, you were at Muck Fest, right? You were at these events where 10 or 20,000 people have walked by your stand. And this is where data art, it can be a little bit humbling because while, yeah, we may have 10 to 20% opacity. Let's see, let me make an eye contact point here. If we go back to your last 5 customers, where would they say they came from? And this is where our ego gets challenged, because it might say, well, yeah, we got 20 customers, but they all came from a different place, right? And this is where I kind of keep track of the groups, because sometimes, like I'm in a group called the Snohomies, I probably get a lead from there every other month consistently, which is nice. But it's good to know. So if you and Rob looked at your last 10 customers, did they come from Bothell Community, or what was the My Edmonds one?
It's just My Edmonds neighbor.
Neighbor. Okay, I'm gonna go back. Is anybody else here in that one? Are you guys seeing my screen again? Let me go back to screen share.
That's just like amongst the many groups that we're in.
Right, you've got a lot of groups, and this is where. So if back to the thinking critically part, how do we know if we're doing good? How big was My Edmonds Community, or my
43,000.
Wasn't that the Bothell Community one, or are they the same size?
No, My Edmonds was 12. I'm sorry.
That's okay, no worries. And then what would you say percentage on that one? Similar, like 5%, 20%?
Yeah, I would say like 5. Just because we do get it just depends on the season. If you ask me Christmas time, that's different.
Right. So, and then we all I'm a 0 in My Edmonds neighborhood. I might know 3 people in the group, but I don't know, like I'm not actively putting my videos or blog content, or, I'm not prospecting in that community. And that's where we can't all be in 50 groups strategically, right? That's not what I'm saying. But if you think, in my vision for today's presentation was to kind of get us to think about within Digital PNA, if everybody here showed up next week with a blog or a video and we moved it into these 10 or 20 groups, cross promoting, right? So it's hard for BV to go and be like, hey, I'm amazing, guys, look at my video. But if Mike's like, check out what my buddy BV is, he's talking about, I don't know, something, if it's relevant to the community, and that's where not every day can we post something because it may or may not be relevant, but the opportunity is there. So let's see. There's a Phoenix group, Sun Devils. Did you guys see the Sun Devils one? So who should be joining this group, do we think? People that went to that school, right? So,
anybody who went or lived near or involved with ASU is it's not solely alumni, but yeah.
So let's say we were doing some market research for somebody's brand in this group. Should I do OLP or Puget Sound Business Journal?
Probably Puget Sound would want to be a good fit, because those techies who might find themselves in Puget Sound, those who came from and got degrees from ASU, for instance, might be good connections there.
So you can actually go in and see if anybody's talking about it this, I'm not sure this is a great, he's talking about Puget Sound, so it's not a perfect thing, but Mike, this is opportunity for the Puget Sound Business Journal, whether it's the videos you guys are going to do, other content, but to be thinking about, now that you've got this piece of content, how do you get it into these groups? So what was that one just called? Got too many tabs open, guys. So that's 939 members. So I kind of joke, but like, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes you have days where you don't have anything going on, right? Like, I know I do. I'm not proud of it, but some days I'm like, what am I going to do today? Go network in this group, which has 900, and I'm just going to say 950. So BV might be like a 20% in there. I'm a 0. But because we know BV, he might be able to introduce Mike in the Puget Sound Business Journal in a way that Mike alone couldn't. But because we're referral buddies and we're help each other out, and that's where you guys could show up to this call and say, hey, I dropped an article from the Puget Sound Business Journal into my Seattle Sun Devils group, and there's now 40 people talking about XYZ top leaders in Seattle, one of which is from Arizona, and that's how social media starts to work, when people are kind of helping each other out. And so while it might not be something for Mike to just go start talking about, he could, like, BV could elevate him, and or Emma, anybody that's got a connection to that group and that community.
Great example. Yeah.
And so my challenge for everybody here, and for the sake of time, I'm going to keep going with the slideshow. I'll show you some other neat things, but we should each be growing and servicing our sphere of influence every month. And servicing meaning we might answer questions, we might comment. I'll give you some specifics here. Let me see if I can move my right slides. So this one is looking at what do we do? You might say, okay, Marcelle, I got a group of 5, I got a group of 10. What do I do? So when you have time, and I suggest you schedule at least maybe 15 minutes a day, go in there, comment, encourage people, say nice things, make recommendations, tag a friend weekly, right? So maybe your goal is like, I want to really establish Mike Enberg as a thoughtful business person in this Arizona group, to get people to be more comfortable with the Seattle area Puget Sound Business Journal, right? So tag a friend weekly. That could be a simple little goal just to help garner influence in that community. Promote your business as recommended within their rules. And like Christina said, every Friday there's a promo Friday, or some of them are Wednesdays, some of them are Tuesday. Once you know these calendars, guys, there's no reason we shouldn't be in there tagging our business or a friend's business, giving a little recommendation. Again, it takes 1 to 2 minutes to be in front of potentially thousands of people in some of these groups. Maybe your goal is get your business mentioned in an ISO. If somebody's like, hey, I need a wedding officiant, maybe every week Brian Trendler's like, I want to get my name dropped in at least 3 groups. Find the wedding groups. I'm sure they're out there. Maybe you're tracking, say Mike joins this Sun Devils group. Maybe your goal is within 30 days, I want to get a client from that group. And I'm going to do a podcast with BV talking about X, Y, or Z. And from that, we'll have something to put into the group where we're going to tee up the Puget Sound Business Journal, vonlife.net. There's some synergy, right? So that's different than just, hey, look at my cat. Not that anybody's doing the cat pictures, but Brian, you got a question?
Yeah, just real quick. I hate to say this, but I didn't know if I was supposed to be timing you or not, and I haven't been. So you're probably about 6 minutes away from being at your time, just so you know.
I will hustle up.
Sorry about that.
Another idea is just share a blog or video resource to answer the questions. So often people are like, well, what do you think about this? And imagine if you had a blog post or a video that answered just that, right? So I'm teeing up this video that maybe when people are like, well, what do you mean sphere of influence? They can look at this video now and say, okay, well, that's how Marcelle views sphere of influence, which is different than what, Brian Buffini taught years ago in terms of farming, right? For realtors, that was a big phrase of just door knocking. This is the digital form of door knocking in a sense. Maybe post a photo once a month from the event that you went to, right? So like Engage Mill Creek, one of the local business communities, maybe you're just going to stay top of mind by doing a photo a photo a month, right? That could be something simple. Or have a client share a success post in that group. So for people like OLP, these after products, we got to ask the customer themselves to share how happy they are with OLP, right? If Rob comes in and does it, they're gonna be like, that's promotional. But if the client says, hey guys, we're cleaning up Everett, like everyone's gonna be excited about that because of these lights. Now, potentially, again, thousands of people are now gonna want to know who Christina is to get an OLP appointment, right? So that's where the power is. But if you're only fishing in a small pond with the same 40 people, it's never going to have that traction. So I think all of us should have at least a couple small groups and then a couple huge groups where we are a tiny fish in the ocean, right? It's good to stretch, because then we can also see what our competition's doing. Okay. Next slide. Let's see what I got here. So just a quick thing, insiders info for influence tracking. Those of us who run a Facebook group, so here's an example of my Humor Heals group. There's Brian Trendler here. See that little number, 2815? He has that many points in my Humor Heals group. So he's an influencer in my group Humor Heals. He's also pretty funny and hilarious and posts crazy cool things. So you can see there, it says he's been there since May of 2015. It's also a big spot where we share our comedy night events. So we've got a lot of fans, but there's literally a point of data on him for me, the admin, and he's actually an admin too. But that's interesting. So it's another data point to say, and again, we won't know this in a group like Bothell Community if we don't have that access. But like Marley here, she's a member of my Revenue Ringlet community as well. She's just now started networking in here. She's got a new book. It's more on the healing side than the humor side. But I told her, I'm like, look, I got 600 people. They're kind of brokenhearted, right? They've gone through trauma or sadness, or, we're just sarcastically dealing with our pain. She's got some of the answers. I told her, start networking in here. See if you can find a way to do speaking events or, collaborations. And in just a couple months, she's already got 35 points. So this is just a little technical thing that if you don't know, you don't know. But to me, if you come to me and you've got 1 point in my group and you want to do a podcast with me, what am I going to say? Maybe. But you got 35 points. You're Brian Tunnel. You got 2,000. I owe Brian coffee and lunch and dinner, So, and this is, again, it's very subtle technical ways to be looking at ways you could quantify influence in certain communities.
I fully support that realization.
Ironically, Brian is my best referral partner currently. So it's, there's a connection between engagement and not. And so I encourage you, engage with the people you want to do business with. Just scrolling by, just seeing it and not liking it, just, we gotta participate.
Yeah. So Marcelle, I need you to start to wrap it up so I can do the speech breakout. Okay.
We already did that. So again, this is just a reminder, spatially look at the size. So again, I want you to have a combined sphere that you're excited about. I don't want you to be terrified and so overwhelmed, but collectively, the 8 of us here, or however many there are, there's a lot of community between us. And when I say bring to the group a video, I'm serious, because otherwise we don't have anything to go to bat with for you necessarily. We can review that. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but it's that critical thinking piece that's required, because what happens in like a political case, say you need 40,000 people to vote for you, but if nobody knows you in some groups, you end up not winning. And that's where when people have a certain level of like activity they're going after, this gets really, really important. If we're just selling houses, this may not be essential, but I think for some people, if you want social media to work, we've got to put in some of the effort. I want to recommend these local sources. This is one called Engage Mill Creek. This is, I think, the one Brian was talking about. I think they're the same one, but I could be wrong. Check it out. It's free to promote in, free to engage in. It's a public group, meaning people outside of the group might see it. And also the Snohomies, this is for local Snohomish County residents, but a lot of advice, conversation, cool topics are happening, so getting people to know about you. If you're trying to get into Snohomish County, and I'm looking at you, Mike, in a sense, this is a great group for you to be in, because this is where a lot of the activity happens. With that, this has been a pleasure. My name is Marcelle Allen. If you're not yet already a member of the Revenue Ringlet, I encourage you to check it out. I would love to grow that community more enthusiastically this year. And so let's do a one-to-one if we haven't in a while. That's my phone number. Make sure I'm in your phone. You can always tag at Dreamosity on any of the social platforms if you want to introduce me to the conversation from a social media strategist. Part of why I share this with you today is I'm not just saying let's post, like it's not just let's make a video. It's let's make a video and optimize that video. Let's take an idea and actually see if there's a real need across 5 or 10 communities. So hopefully I demonstrated some thoughtfulness and some creative solutions here, because while I would love to say social media is very easy, there are some brands where it takes a little bit more just critical thinking and audience size and critical, just enthusiasm. So with that, any questions?
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
BV, go ahead.
This was just like you queued it up. It was playful and abstract, but also so usable. There's some things that why didn't I think of that? And it's just opened a door of things that how to think of communities. So thank you for that.
Good,
and I might like to circle back to make sure if I have some ideas about these are some of these communities we talked about. Am I thinking about this right to deploy the videos I create or make them more usable? So that's what I'd like to be able to do with this group.
Yeah, and each group is kind of its own community of people, and so we've got to find out what are the rules, what's the vibe of the room, right? Some rooms it's loosey-goosey, and some are very rigorous and tight and strict, and so it is that's why I like the idea of the movie poster, because if you know who the leader of the pack is, and if you have a good, strong relationship with that person, it's more likely they're not going to be like, bad boy, get out of the room, or whatever. Like some admins, if you don't know them, they will just boot you out and you just lost so much potential.
Yeah.
And so think of who are the heroes that you know of the community. Like right now with that Arizona one, I would put BV and Emma as the top people because they're the ones that I know that went to Arizona, right? I don't know anybody else in there, but they're currently my key connection points to that group. So,
Mike, you had a question?
Yeah, so for years, a few years, it's been often said you should use your connections online to cultivate your personal brand. What I'm hearing you say is use it to build and cultivate your spheres of influence, which seems more nuanced and more exact than personal brand. But I wonder, what would you say? How does sphere of influence differ from your personal brand online?
I know some people with really strong personal brands and tiny spheres of influence, and they're annoyed that Facebook's not working. I also know people like Mel Robbins, who is bigger than most communities, and she's at a nationwide level where her brand is so big that she may be selling books to people in the community without ever a video going there. And so it's hard to say, but I do think when you start to leverage video and more people know of you than you know of them, there's a kind of a tipping point that starts to happen, but it doesn't happen in a small sphere of influence, right?
So sphere of influence brings in your amount of import and size with these communities.
Yeah, and that's like when I was working with that political campaign years ago, he was a big deal in the city council, and it broke my heart because in some groups he was he was nobody, like nobody knew of. He was still, in the sense we're all important, right? But in business, someone else is going to solve the solution faster if we're not even at the table. And we can't be at all 100 tables. So we just got to pick our, I would say 5 to 25. So
love it.
Any other questions for Marcelle? Okay. I think we might actually uncover some potentially if we go into the speech breakout. So Marcelle, if you can bring that up, I'll take people through that.
Oh, that's a good idea. Stand by, we're on our way. I don't know why it takes me back to the beginning in this software.
He's okay. Excuse me.
Oh wait, referrals and testimonials. Don't we do that next?
No, we do the speech breakout right there.
Ha! There it is.
Okay, folks, let's talk about target market, what people and or businesses would benefit from her services. And this is for us, not for her. And it's very hard for the speaker to always not contribute unless asked.
I hesitate to say this because it's not really a specific profession, But what you're talking about has real efficacy to sales in general, in every way. I mean, spheres of influence, not to be blunt, is really a sales tool.
Plus, you got to use the word efficacy in a sentence today. So, ding, ding,
and
ding,
blunt.
1 point for Mike. No, you're absolutely right, though. I mean, anyone technically. I always think people that are currently so proud of their marketing efforts, and I know this from experience when I've sat down with I've listened to Marcelle's experience with certain clients, where then she sits down with them and they can't even read a P&L report. They don't know what's coming in. They don't know what's going out. And through just a few either sessions with her or from advisory situations, they raise their game so quickly because, frankly, they do what they're told. So definitely people that are advertising and marketing in certain arenas don't realize what type of much larger exposure they can get if they follow her plans, right? Anyone else in their target market?
Yeah, I mean, I would say just like kind of what you said, Brian, and you too, Mike. It's just like it's sales, but it's also like people that think they know what they're doing with their social media, and then like how you said, they get upset that's not really working out and stuff. Kind of like you said too, Marcel. It's like it's not going how you thought. I mean, also I think another target market would maybe be somebody that wants to get into what you already do, Marcel, like kind of like a student type of thing. If they're interested in that, like that's an ideal client because they can still be a client, but you can also be like their mentor as well. So, you can build that up for them and teach them and stuff. So, but honestly, like small businesses, maybe, I mean, I know that's the main one we say all the time, but I think, just a fresh upcoming small business to get them on the right track so they don't have to learn the hard way, essentially. If they just starting out, it'd be a good referral to be like, oh, hey, so we know Marcelle, she can help you with your business and advertising and marketing, and how to, grow that, because I mean, they're starting out and they're like, hey, I want to do it by myself. And then next thing you know, they're calling you and being like, hey, can you help me? So I think that would be great.
I think you're absolutely right. Marcelle, instead of speaking, she's contributing in the chat channel, so she's breaking the rules. But yes, also for key conversations, we can kind of transition into this one because they kind of both act as a synonymous answer. But anyone who wants to do video is doing video, isn't getting a return from their video efforts. They don't know how to syndicate. They don't know how to tag things appropriately. Marcelle's very, very good in doing that. So that could be a referral as well from the triggering perspective. Anything else except for Marcelle?
I've got we don't seem to have a realtor in this community, and those realtors who have, all of us have competition, but there's a gazillion realtors everywhere. There's a guy in Arizona who's doing some crazy great videos, and he seems to be quite successful. He happens to be, I used to say a kid. He's a grown-ass man, but when my son was little and high school kids, they're among the kids who are in the back seat with too much cologne on. His name is, so in Arizona, I could find his Facebook page. I don't know that he does this level because he does some really great content. His name is Ramon Marano. Great guy. He was like, I'd adopt a kid as he's kind of an adopted son. And I haven't seen him in person in years, but he's got a great online presence, fun marketing stuff, a good mix of his kids and things. And I think about it, he's a guy, and I call him Mo. Hey, Mo, you ought to come check out Digital PNA. You're in Arizona. I need some other excuse to have some more Arizona people. But that's an example of Marcelle. Mo is just a great human, great dad, great person, and he's got some fun marketing, and he's done it the hard way. I have a suspicion you might be able to amplify what he does and his influence, and thereby your own. So that's a specific person with pretty great potential. So I'll make that introduction.
That's awesome. Yeah, we don't often call out people by name under this portion, but I love the fact that you went there.
Well, that industry in particular is the real estate industry, because people up here as well. Realtors are doing well, but to make a difference, you gotta have exponential growth.
The other part of our key conversations: what comments should members be out there leaving or tagging? Kind of what like Marcelle cheated and put in the chat window. Anyone who's posting on social media saying, "Hey, I'm interested in starting video," or things aren't effective so far, or please watch my video. Any of those, like almost equivalent of a video cat call, like if they're begging for someone to watch their video, they're probably not doing it right. They could also be boring. They can also be shooting up their nose. And, once that sort of thing gets out, it's a huge turnoff. So anything else into that key conversation trigger that we can think of?
Is there a meme for palm to forehead?
Yeah,
Because
the whole
something
forehead
that
palm. Yeah.
how come I'm not doing that for me, it's, wait, I didn't even think about the groups in Facebook versus pages, and duh.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So basically you're saying your forehead hurts today?
oh yeah. I'm
Okay.
Well, and that's where, like, the groups, to me, we're going to see them again. Like here at PNA, I know I'm going to see Mike next month, and I'm going to see Brian later this week, and I'm going to see Christine. Like, we're going, like, that relationship continues to grow and get better, whereas your general looker buyer isn't a member of the community. And that's where the enriched opportunity is, when we're really building community connections.
Okay. Beneficial syndications. Marcelle, I swear to God, after 3 years, I'm still not describing this correctly. So I'm going to allow you to explain this part better, since this was your baby on this section.
Well, what other communities should I add to my sphere of influence based on what you like? Is there a women's group or a men's group or a business strategy group for startups and somewhere that I don't know about? Like, where else would this material be wonderful? Because I've obviously got a sphere, but where else could this?
All right, everyone else can answer that based off of what she just said. Where else can we get her seen and heard and listened to, which are 3 completely separate things?
Well, Marcelle, are you still, and do you have interest in growing a client base around local politics? Because this has real application.
I've been telling people lately I'm very interested in leadership, more so than politics. So
which means no to politics, Pike.
if they're a good leader, I will entertain it.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking that there are lots of groups that are either explicitly or implicitly focused on political situations or campaigns or people that would very much benefit from thinking about spheres of influence and how to leverage
I
that.
actually have a lot of political spheres groups and links up in Snohomish County and Washington State, because I've been a state campaign manager before, so that would be very helpful to somebody for sure.
And ironically, Marcelle, both of those people you campaign manage, they're running again now. Very interesting. Okay, any other thoughts on your beneficial syndications? If not, we'll move on to the next section for time. Okay. Other categories. What other businesses can we bring in to help Marcelle specifically? Because today it's selfish and we're all about Marcelle today. So, of course, what other businesses can we bring in that will help her referral network grow in particular? And, of course, all of us from a digital butt in chair. Believe it or not, folks, videographers. Marcelle can play well with other people in the proverbial sandbox. They can team up, right? They can contribute, they can share, they can 1099 her, they can contract her out, and potentially vice versa. We could help grow Marcelle's empire if we find copywriters, copy editors, photographers, videographers, even people that are specifically, I almost said from a campaign manager perspective, but more from a production manager perspective, someone that's been involved in the creative industry and can help do shot calls, storyboarding, all that sort of thing. She can take all of those talents and roll them all up into one big offer for a client. Any other thoughts?
I'm thinking a social media manager of some sort, maybe someone who handles multiple accounts, different businesses across the board. Can work with her with different ideas that, to help boost what they're doing.
Okay. Marcelle's cheating once again. She's putting things in the screen here. Oh yeah, she just put a little, almost a pitch out there. Public speaking. You guys, everybody go out and hire her or pitch her to. It doesn't just have to be ladies' organizations. It can be other nonprofits. It can be inspirational opportunities. If you've never heard her jam on stage and just rock out the motivation, you are missing out. Okay. She is an incredible speaker on stage, and I honestly think we all need to build her speaking career. Let's give her a $5,000 keynote.
Indeed.
Go team, go! She will travel. Okay, so I think we've got it covered. Marcelle, if you want to bag it, tag it, back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And thanks for bringing in groups. I know we didn't get to them all. We can flesh it out later, but there might be some home play in there to do. Okay, referrals and testimonials. So please say something nice about somebody here today. You're going to have a referral. Stage time is wealth time. The person with the mic's making the money. So feel free to say something nice and or pass a referral, make an introduction, and I'll start. So Emma knows I have a referral for her. We're going to meet after this meeting. So thank you for that.
I've referred Marcelle to at least 2 clients over the last 2 weeks. These are not hot leads though, so she knows about them, but I haven't even passed over the information because they're still involved in a number of things first before they're ready to have a sit down with Marcelle. But one of them, technically, I was part of a few weeks back by talking her up, and she may talk about it today, but she just closed a little opportunity with a certain locksmith. Kind of cool. That's what I got today.
I'm going to shout out Karen, although she's not here, for being patient with me while I'm dealing with my automobile issue. But now that we're good, I'm hoping to connect with her with a one-on-one.
Well, I'll piggyback on that and kind of I also talked to Karen a couple days ago as my introduction to the group, and we found out there's some great harmonies there. And same thing, Emma, we're destined to be talking. But I've been shouting out the whole group, said, hey, you guys, there's this thing, and how it came about from regular PNA and talking to Brian, and then, well, how about digital? Because out here in Kitsap on the peninsula, it's a little different world, and I think there's some opportunity there. So I've been shouting out all of you guys and say, hey, I joined this thing. It feels great. Come on along. So
thank you, BV. That's
more to
awesome.
follow.
Well, plus BV came referred by J. Donovan Smith, or JD as he's known. So a lot of abbreviation people in this group. It seems a little shady, if I'm being honest. But JD is a valued member of the North Creek chapter. He is a videographer. Anyway, so it's nice to have warm referrals come in from the standpoint, or references come in, because I knew what I was getting into. Basically, I was warned when it came time to talking to BV for the first time. And look where he is now. So it's nice to have you here.
Nice to be here. Love it.
Marcelle?
I was going to also second the love for Karen. I actually shared one of her posts on Facebook the other day in my stories, so I think that should count for us in terms of like when we're sharing each other's stuff. That's a nod. And just Christina, that locksmith he actually gave Rob a big testimonial and a referral recently. We were having coffee this morning, and he will be starting with me on the 15th, which is a big win. So if you know anybody that needs some general contracting services for locksmith, I'll be making him online famous in the near future. Anybody else? Referrals, testimonials, shout out. Thanks for bringing your events today. I encourage you keep growing that sphere. It's exciting. Okay, so speaker rotation. Up next, we have Rosie Stritzel. I'll be sure to let her know. Brian Vaughn, you're on deck for June 4th. So you'll get a 20-minute presentation.
Cool.
Karen's right after you, and then Emma, and then Christina. So that's our current rotation.
Can I mention something real quick about the speaking opportunities?
Of course.
Just so you folks know, we do not have to do YouTube live stream every single meeting. If you just want to have the regular setup, which Brian hasn't even experienced yet, there is an inherent limitation. I think this tool is phenomenal, and huge accolades once again to Marcelle for bringing this into the digital PNA environment. But the Restream has a limit, I think, of 10 bobbleheads, if memory serves, Marcelle. So if we were to all have kind of like a open house guest day, that would extremely limit us potentially, because if everyone were to be here, I think there's 8 people in this group. So just remember, we don't have to be on this format unless you want to every single time. We're starting to get a little bit of traction on the YouTube chat perspective, but not that much. So anyway, back to reality. Just let Marcelle know
If you're watching live from YouTube, let us know where you're watching in from. We'd love to hear from you in the chat. I see Charlie's there. And speaking of Charlie, so on Rosie's presentation on May 14th, I may need to have somebody else run the role of president, which nobody else has been trained yet in Restream. So it might be Zoom next session. So just keep your eyes on that, because I don't know if I could get a sub to do this. Maybe I could. It's not rocket science, but it's definitely not Zoom.
It would be me, and we're going to pick old school format that day. So
okay, so you look at the email, everybody. But yeah, no, and then the other option, nobody's taken this one yet. Well, I guess, Christina, you actually did quite a bit by having Rob here, but a panel presentation. So the idea that you might bring out 3 people, and then I can change, how these bobbleheads move and who gets featured and how we, have to get a little bit better at them. But there is a way where I can turn, say, 4 of you off screen. That looks kind of weird. I could turn some of you off screen and only have 3 of you up here. So your presentation could be a panel or kind of like a live podcast where you're just engaging about a topic, opposed to you just talking at the screen for 20 minutes. Like a normal keynote. You could do that's a creative option to do a panel presentation.
that's great.
Okay, so events coming up, and feel free to drop a chat if you have an extra link to share. But Brian, do you want to cover these 2 comedy nights coming up?
Yeah, I only grabbed one picture because I was in a hurry. But either way, May 16th is our always popular Mill Creek / Bothell location. Depends on which direction you throw the stone. You can hit both. June 6th is our newest spot in Woodinville. Those have been very popular, smaller venue. You can seat, I think, 50 or some odd people, but we always shove in more. That's been really popular. Woodinville, I did not know it was a depressing place, and people just want to show up and drink and laugh, and I'm trying to take advantage of that. So that's been kind of neat. And those are the reoccurring events, first Friday of each month and third Friday of each month. And I will say, it's not up here, but once a quarter, we go down to a place called Top Down Brewing in Sumner. If some of you want to go down that far, go for it. But once again, we had a sold out event. So that's 3 sold out events in a row at that location now. And that's 70 plus people. And it's insane. Like it's a gorgeous tasting room brewery. I happen to know the owners. They're friends of the family, but they're all crazy. And it's just been neat to bring in comedians. And it's like they've never experienced a live comedian on quote unquote stage, because they're darn near throwing underwear bits up on stage. They're just having a really good time. So that's been fun. And then Marcelle, if it's okay, I'll transition real quick into the NPO event. So this is just around the corner, just a few days away, 22 days if you're good at math. It is the Nonprofit Organization Connect event. The sole reason, I know you've heard me say this before, is to connect NPOs with businesses that have a side to them of which they work with nonprofits, whether you're providing a discount and a whole division of whatever. Most NPOs fail in the first 2 years, and that's not because of the lack of available government grants, city, county grants, et cetera. It's because they don't know businesses that are hungry to take care of their needs and help them succeed for the people or whatever. So it's free to be a vendor. It's free to be a business that wants to attend, or a nonprofit that can get in there and meet good people. It's just a small 2-hour event. I am limited to the amount of businesses I can let in the door because of the size restriction we have at Indigo and Everett. I think I can do 18, maybe 15 vendors, and I've got some room. So if you really do truthfully have the part of your business, and you want to be part of it, send me an email ASAP.
Excellent. Thanks, Brian. In addition to the NPO event, anytime you can be in front of a group of people, I want you to think of this phrase. So normally we get paid dollars per hour, $50 an hour, $100 an hour, whatever it is we charge. But think of results per hour. If you just sit on your back deck for an hour with a bottle of your favorite peach Snapple and you talk to nobody for an hour, what's that result? A nice suntan. Now, if you go to the NPO event for 2 hours and you network with 15 other remarkable humans doing really cool work in the world, what's your result? You're increasing your sphere of influence. Now, results per hour could be like somebody here secretly has a list of 20,000 people that we could mail. What's the result of that hour? 20,000 people seeing your name across the email headline, right? So when we start to think in leverage, good things happen.
And
So that's my encouragement for you guys.
and not that it's going to happen again, but to illustrate that almost perfectly, I was hired for 2 events on the spot as an auctioneer and MC last year at our inaugural event, and that is roughly $5,000 value. Not a lot of people get that much return out of a freaking teeny little trade show looking thing. So that was a good problem to have.
Excellent. And so our final slide here is looking at, we want to grow Digital PNA. I'm happy to get past 8 members so we can go back to Zoom if we need to and just broadcast some other interviews with Restream. But who do you know that's an e-commerce business, productivity coach, a sales trainer, SEO specialist, a book coach, a videographer? All these folks are people, and we can have multiple. Like I am technically a social media manager. I would love 3 more social media managers because their spheres of influence may be more beautiful than mine. Like that's great because now I can introduce Digital PNA to all of those groups, right? Like, and that's where this should be growing. But look at those on the screen. If you know anybody that is looking to grow their business and get more referrals, we would love those introductions. So with that, any final questions or thoughts before I hit the end stream button today?
This is well worth the price of admission and tuition. This is a great gig. So great presentation. I'm a fan. So I'm pumped.
Yeah.
Thank you, BB.
Yeah.
I say, and by the way, for those of you who don't know this for some reason, Marcelle, can you go to the other screen about the membership prices and stuff? I've done a little bit of research recently, and there are some other organizations out there. Some of you know them. Some of them are also unnamed, and they're kind of, fly by night organizations. Most groups that do this sort of thing are double, if not more, per year. 600, I get it. It is an investment. It does take time to get referrals from some folks. But the other thing also is I like being Santa all year round. That doesn't mean I like being fat. It means JD, who referred BV, PDQ, and other
Elemental P.
exactly, OLP. I will be handing JD eventually when I see him a check for $100. Let me do that for you, Emma. I care. Let me do that for you, Christina. I care. Let me do that for you. I want to give people money to say thank you for allowing them to be part of the growing digital family, Digital PNA family, as a stutter. So give me the problem of having to write you checks, okay? And I am old. I still write checks. Don't judge me. But again, give me that problem. Consider referring folks to me. I'll do the legwork. Invite them here as a guest. They can be here twice. That itself is a huge value. Try it for free. It's cheaper than meth and fentanyl. Like your sample free, stuff like that. But let's get some more good people in here, and they don't have to be local. So that's my pitch.
Yeah. Well, with that, thanks everybody for being here today. I'm going to get you out of here a couple minutes early. Go enjoy the sun on your back deck if you've got one, and or your next appointment. I'm actually going to chat with Emma because we got some business to do. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.